Hey, remember Ghostbusters? That classic series of films, TV shows, and freaking Slimer Punch? And also, more importantly, video games. Well, specifically remember Ghostbusters the video game? This game, despite just adapting a movie license and just adapting a property, was actually, frankly, to be honest with you, amazing. Hell, I would even say that it was really the true Ghostbusters 3, if you know what I mean. I'll save my further opinions about this game for a future video, but all I gotta say, it was a fantastic movie license game. But what if I told you that even before Ghostbusters the video game was released, we could have gotten a very different Ghostbusters game that could have came out. Being shown through mysterious videos released online, this game would have featured a different style, tone, and more realistic feeling than the game that we actually would eventually get. But after these videos were released, we eventually got no news, and they were sadly wiped away from the internet. And to say the least, this version of the video game was sadly scrapped and cancelled and lost to time. So, want to find out more? Well, in this video, I'm going to be talking about the Ghostbusters game that we could have gotten and the one that was lost to time. Zootfly's canceled Ghostbusters. Back in 2007, 4 mysterious videos of a new Ghostbusters game appeared on the YouTube released by Slovenian video game developer Zootfly. All 4 of these videos are honestly pretty mysterious and feature a weirdly new Ghostbusters video game. So in this series, I'm going to review every Ghostbusters video that was released and basically give you my thoughts on the details of each one. The first video features a Ghostbuster running down a cold and devastated New York, haunted by ghosts, and also appears to be the present time, not the 90s like the original movies. The gameplay appears to be set as a third-person shooter, featuring very large proton guns that the Ghostbusters have this time around. Compared to the ones that they had in the original movies, these ones are just gigantic.
That's a big Twinkie.
They also have destruction physics in this video, featuring many things you can do with the proton guns like destroying buildings or damaging cars. This is similar to what we got with the Ghostbusters the video game in terms of destruction physics. Also just the mysterious tone of this video. For example, even though we don't know much about what the plot could have been for this Ghostbusters game, we can see a couple key details in this video. For example, there's a weird light in the sky which may appear as some kind of opening for the ghosts in this universe. Also, just the ominous tone of the sound effects in this clip, like the weird robotic voice that you hear throughout the clip, and just the weirdly haunting visualization of some of the ghosts in the game just adds to the mysterious tone of these videos. The second video that would appear online would feature a new ectomobile. For example, this game would not have the classic ectomobile that we know from the movies, but instead would have the Ecto 2. Sorry Ecto 1, I love you, but you got to make way for Ecto 2.
Bummer.
Also featuring in this clip, it appears that you can actually customize the Ectomobile by changing its color and other features, which personally is really an awesome feature, and I would have loved to seen it in the Ghostbusters video game that we eventually got. The third video that was released online features the Ectomobile driving around in a desolate and cold New York, which apparently may have suggested that you can actually drive the Ectomobile in some of the missions in the game, which is also just pretty awesome. The driving physics featured in the video don't look too bad, but also look a little janky, but that's just my personal opinion as well. Also, another interesting thing is that even though the driving video is extremely short, we can actually see a pretty desolate and empty New York, which may have suggested something for the story, like maybe in this version as the ghosts come into the world, the New York City is actually just evacuated. Once again, just a theory. The final video released online featured a news clip featuring Peter Venkman using a CGI model played by Bill Murray, which obviously at this time they didn't actually have the rights to use Bill Murray's likeness. In this clip, basically Peter Venkman is telling the news reporters to basically call the Ghostbusters when shit happens.
Sometimes shit happens, someone has to deal with it, and who are you gonna call?
Also, an interesting fact about this video is that there's a crawl at the bottom of the video which basically says that the Ghostbusters saved the world for a third time. It may be possible that this canceled Ghostbusters game would have featured obviously as a sequel to Ghostbusters 2, but set some years after, as it mentions that they saved the world for a third time. Overall, a pretty interesting video. I do think that the CGI model that they used for Bill Murray's likeness looks a little creepy and uncanny, and obviously Zootfly had no right to use the likeness of Murray here, but overall, it's a pretty interesting clip, and I love the reference to Ghostbusters 2 here.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
The final piece of details about this project and canceled game of Ghostbusters was actually some images and some design concepts that have been floating online for years. The first of these is obviously that this game would have actually featured a completely new logo for the Ghostbusters. Gone is the classic logo that we saw in the movies, but actually a pretty interesting graffiti version that reflects a more modern kind of video game that they were trying to aim for here. And then we have this image, which was basically an image that I originally thought for a long time was just fan art, but apparently this image was actually associated with this game as part of a pitch for this video game. As you can see in the photo, it features all 4 of the original Ghostbusters wearing some pretty different gear this time around, and I would say it's kind of done in this military style sort of, featuring military style helmets, body armor, some lights on top of their shoulders, and the proton packs are just way more massive this time around. Specifically the proton guns, which basically just look like freaking mini guns. Like, goddamn. Overall though, it's a pretty unique and different look for Ghostbusters.
And this is my weapon.
Also, the background of this image was pretty interesting as well, as it looks way more apocalyptic than the usual Ghostbusters setting is, as it looks like New York's been ravaged by many ghosts over the years, and Ghostbusters are here to stop it. Also, as you can see in the photo, the Ecto-2 is behind them, and overall the image looks pretty awesome and a uniquely different Ghostbusters that we could have gotten.
Well, there's something you don't see every day.
So, with all this released material, photos appearing online, and this video is mysteriously appearing, it actually gathered a lot of excitement from the Ghostbusters community, and hopes are high for a Ghostbusters project to actually come out. And then, suddenly everything was gone, wiped away. Well, you may be asking yourself, how could this have happened? Well, I'll explain it here. 2 weeks later after the videos appeared online, Sony mysteriously took down the videos on Zootfly channel, wiping away any existence of this video game. But you may be asking yourself, well, why did this even happen? Well, the simple reason that these videos were taken down was simply the fact that Zootfly had no right to make a Ghostbusters video game or even attempt one because they did not have the license to even do so. They didn't have the consent of the people who own the license for Ghostbusters to use the assets like proton guns, proton packs, and also Bill Murray's likeness as a whole. They definitely didn't ask him for his likeness. Simply put, Zootfly didn't have the licenses to do anything for Ghostbusters legally. You can say that the reasoning why Zootfly attempted to do such a bold and daring thing was that they wanted to release these videos online, get the community excited, and eventually get the license owners to give them the license and finish the game and the project. But ultimately though, Sony didn't feel this way, as they felt that the videos and the developer had crossed the line by using their license without their permission, and ultimately this was the real reason why Zootfly's Ghostbusters was cancelled. It was because simply they had no right and the license to make the videos at all. Also, while all this was going on, unknown to Zootfly and the developers there, Terminal Reality was already in talks with Sony to make their version of Ghostbusters into a reality. So, even though Zootfly's attempt at a Ghostbusters game may have never actually came to fruition, Zootfly's attempt may have actually helped greenlit Terminal Reality's Ghostbusters game faster than it already would have had in our timeline. Here's a quote from Terminal Reality's president that kind of explains this. "When their footage came out, we were close to our greenlight meeting, and when the executives saw the reaction from the fans, they immediately knew, hey, Ghostbusters is going to be a big hit. We need to put this game into production." And there we go. The rest speaks for itself. Eventually in 2009, Terminal succeeded in greenlighting their version of Ghostbusters, and in 2009 released Ghostbusters the video game, which in my opinion is a true certified hood classic. Overall great game, and well, that's pretty much how it happened. So you may be asking yourself, what happened to Zootfly the developer? Well, actually they rebranded the game engine that they used for the prototype of this Ghostbusters game and actually announced a game called Tymo. There were a couple release trailers for this game, but ultimately though, like many of their projects, this game was actually scrapped and cancelled as well. And eventually after a series of pretty crappy and mediocre releases, the company was actually eventually bought out and merged with a different company at the end of the day. So basically that was the Ghostbusters game that we could have gotten, and honestly there are many different aspects of this video game that look very promising to me. For example, the interesting modern new setting and also the sort of interesting uncanny and dark feel of the whole project looked pretty promising. Also the weird new gear in this prototype footage also looked pretty interesting, and it was definitely an attempt by a company to get their project and reinvigorate the Ghostbusters franchise after so many failed attempts and many cancelled stuff. But at the end of the day, I am actually very very happy with the Ghostbusters game that we actually got, and overall though, it's always curious to figure out what if. What if this version of Ghostbusters, Zootfly's Ghostbusters, got released instead of the version that we eventually got in our reality? How would have it changed things for the Ghostbusters franchise in our timelines? Would we have gotten that god-awful reboot, or we would have gotten a different film? Honestly, who knows? But overall though, this was Zootfly's canceled Ghostbusters the video game. Once again, thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, please give it a like and please subscribe. Thanks all.
Get him out of here.
Bye.